and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. So now my board docs close. My other computer, so hold on. Are we first at the update, correct? Board update? I'm sorry, updates from the committee?
No committee. It's not really a business meeting, but just comments today.
Okay. Do we have any comments? Oh, that was easy. Okay. Next is Frank. Do you want to give the update now, or?
Yeah, I've got a few comments. Normally I would save a lot of these for the business meeting, but some of them are just timely. I just wanted to make sure that we got a few of them out. So today I was fortunate to attend the change of command ceremony for Colonel Morrison. That's probably why he's not here today. He's with family, but he's been an outstanding garrison commander from my perspective, my limited perspective, and he's done a lot to connect the larger community. And during COVID, he was just instrumental in working with us in a lot of areas. The last couple weeks on Thursdays, I had mentioned to the board previously that I joined the Superintendent's Task Force United Against Racism. We had our second meeting today. I did send the board just an info sheet on some of the things that we're going to be working on. You can definitely see our fingerprints on a lot of those initiatives. They are reflected also in our draft Diversity and Equity Committee. Tied to that, we have started to have a lot of conversation about our mascot. And we've had community members, we've had alumna come to us and question how we as an education institution can foster diversity and equity and still have a mascot which reflects a stereotypical Native American symbol. To that end, I'm working with Debbie Brand and Debbie Crow to look into changing the mascot, not necessarily changing the term Raiders, but perhaps rebranding our Raiders to be something that reflects our commitment to all people. I don't know if anybody has any questions on that, but I can come back to it.
Well, I can say that I spoke to Debbie Crow right before this meeting because I wanted an update on athletics from 2020-2021 outlook to see if she had heard anything recently on any of the task forces as it pertains to athletics. And one of the things that she said is that obviously I said we spoke about the mascot and she said she was totally on board with changing the mascot. She said that she will take the lead and she will work with Debbie Brand and Dr. Sheboy on deciding what the new mascot will be. In the meantime, she's going to work with Dr. Sheboy on a statement that we can give to Mrs. Pitt and anyone else who asks for it and put it out on our website that we will be changing our mascot, but we will keep the Raiders. We'll just change what the mascot is. And she's going to start making a list of everything that needs to be changed, but I believe Dr. Sheboy probably already has that because you have an estimate on cost on what it would take.
I don't have a comprehensive list, but I have a pretty good estimate on what the total cost would be if we were to change everything, including the name Raiders, versus that of rebranding our Raiders into something, again, just different than the Native American Indian head. So, for us to change out the name Raiders would cost somewhere between $200,000 and $300,000. For us to rebrand would be significantly less than that. And my guess is in the vicinity of between $20,000 and $50,000. I would remind everybody who's listening that approximately 20 years ago, the Commissioner of Education made a recommendation that schools that have symbols of Native Americans should change. We did not, a lot of school districts did not. There's legislation pending or being proposed in the state Senate that would deny state aid to school districts. It did not change over a time period. And I think that there is good reason to move away from stereotypes.
Yeah, I mean, it sounded to her that it's done. It's a done deal. That administration has agreed to change the mascot, leave Raiders, because we certainly don't have nor want to spend over
Yeah.
$100,000 on this. It's a ludicrous conversation for this year. She mentioned the chairs. She was going to call the company and see about what it would take to just get new cushions, if that's possible. Some of the
Scoreboards.
scoreboards, the sign out front. I had said, you mentioned we could go to an LED sign. So she has agreed to, and I think it's important for her, knowing how busy administration is right now with everything else, to take the lead on that, and knowing everyone here as a board that it's not going to happen overnight, but the things that we can do fairly quickly, we will. She's already told the coaches no apparel or anything like that is to be ordered with the Indian heads, if anyone was even thinking about it. And that's where that is. So I think it's a fairly simple discussion. Administration has agreed, and they're all moving forward on it.
Can I just say something? Frank, I've gotten, the emails in regards to the diversity work group.
Mhm.
And there has been, in the body of those emails, in terms of getting that process moving again, it sounds like that work group wants to have some feedback and input in regards to the decision-making around the term Raiders, even, I believe it said in that email. So where does that committee fall into these discussions?
Well, we certainly would listen to any committee, obviously. We want to make sure that we are hearing people. It is a matter of considering the longer term. We could just hold off and wait and do little in the short term and protract this, or we could begin right away, and that's what our goal is. This was not something that's driven by the committee. This is something we've actually been talking about.
Oh, yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'm clear on that, but it just sounds, from the way Anna's talking about it, it sounds like the decision makers are, moving ahead. But I think there's people on the committee that think that their input is influencing the change. So I just want to make sure that it's communicated.
Yeah, but I think when I read that letter from Nicole, it was that it was out in the community, and that people felt that it needed to be changed. And I think everyone here on the phone, not only the board, but the administration and the school as a whole, agrees with that 100%. I can tell you from a board and from knowing our monetary, we couldn't change the Raiders this year anyway. There's no way we have the money for that.
Mhm.
So if we could at least do, move it forward now with, I think that it's important for us to make a statement as soon as possible that we are changing our mascot. And again, we need to listen to every committee, especially the Diversity and Equity Committee.
Right.
At this point, I think we still need to move forward on the change.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, I'm not disagreeing with
Okay.
that at all. I just want to make sure, just based on that email, that the committee is aware that there's options being explored and discussions being had already. That's all.
So Frank, can you just make sure that Nicole is aware of that? I think she was told.
Yeah, I have a call scheduled with Nicole tomorrow, because I know we have a
Oh,
committee
okay.
meeting
Hi, Ned.
next week. So
Hold on, everybody. No, I'm sorry, we can't. Do you have your red microphone pressed on? So on your iPad, you have to press, I'm sorry, on your Chromebook. You have to press the screen and bring it up a little bit on the bottom, swipe up on the bottom, and there'll be a red microphone. A round green thing. a round red thing that'll have an X, a line through the microphone, and you press that, and then we'll be able to hear you. Can anyone hear Nick?
No.
Now, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
we can.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Can you tell me when it's appropriate, but I'd like to speak on that issue.
Please go ahead and speak on it now.
You
Okay.
can hang up your phone too. Yeah.
I'm not in opposition to it, but when it was said that the administration has made the decision, I don't know about the other board members, but the board should be involved in the decision, number one. Number two, just so it's better understood from where we came from, and it's not, and never was intended to be racist. It came about solely from Professor O'Neill, who had gone to Colgate. Colgate had the name of the Red Raiders, and the same with the colors. So it came directly from Colgate University, Colgate College at that time. Colgate changed that a number of years ago. I don't remember how many, but it might make some sense to find out what Colgate changed to, so at least we're aware of that.
So Ned, I want to correct something then. If it's my fault, I'll take the hit for it. But the last time we talked about this, I believe the majority of the board was in agreement already that that a change needed to be made. So if that is the case, when I said the administration, I meant that they took our lead and had already been working on it. And I think some of it is everything else that's going on that the administration is working on right now. And maybe it's a lack of communication, and I'll take the hit on that if that's the case.
You don't need to take the hit.
No, I'll take the hit. If I wasn't clear or if I misunderstood, I'll take the hit on it. But to me, knowing what everyone is doing right now and knowing the deadlines that we have, this isn't something that I think that we as a school district should take a hit on. We know what has to be done, and I think that we need to move forward with it so that if we could at least agree and be able to make a statement that says we're making a change, regardless of what it is, we will be making a change, that will at least help ease people's concern in the community. And I agree, it's a great idea for Debbie Crow and the team to look into that. Oh, look at this. Faith is showing you on the screen what the Colgate.
It's a pirate. It's a pirate.
Yeah, 2010 they moved.
It's a pirate?
Pirate.
Yeah, so they kept the Raider name. They just
Right.
changed it to is it a pirate? I don't know. It's a Raider, I suppose. It's, it's a human form.
It almost looks
It's
like
not
it's
Native
wearing
American.
a 3-point hat, like a patriot.
Mhm.
Yeah, yes, like a patriot. Yep. We
They
can never be the
And
patriots,
of
PS,
course.
please.
And of course, no decision
the
would
same
be
thing-
made on what the new mascot is without coming back to the board to let us know what was decided upon. But at least we can get moving and get a statement out there before it gets any more involved. I don't want people to think we're not doing anything.
Faith, is the name Pirate actually?
Raider. It's still Raider.
No, they're
Still
still
Raider,
still
Ned.
Raider. Yep.
The name of the mascot is Raider.
Yep. Which is what I imagine we will continue, like you said, to be the Raiders, just with a different mascot, not the Raider head.
And
Thank you.
it's definitely important to consider the legacy of Professor O'Neill, especially for the building that carries his name. And that's something that we would definitely throw into the mix of consideration.
Except it's not just the high school, it's the whole district.
Right. I think it's important to know how it came about as a benign as contrasted to racist or lack of sensitivity at that time.
Absolutely. I think context is everything, Ned. I agree 100%.
Thank you.
I agree 100% too, and that should definitely be in the statement that we make. So thank you
Thank
for
you,
your
Kate.
comment. Okay. Go ahead, Frank. I'm sure you have others.
Actually, just one more, because I'm going to turn it over, a lot of discussion to Dr. Theodore in a couple minutes, but we do have a town hall scheduled for 7 p.m. on Monday, where we're going to hear some questions. I know Mary Jane was wondering, she's probably got inquiring minds all over the place, but we will be able to take questions from during the email show from and be able to respond to those directly, in case people are wondering. So,
What was the time again, Frank?
7 p.m., Ned?
Thank you.
Do you want me to send the board the flyer?
Yes, please.
Okay.
If you could, just send it to Mary Jane as well, so she could put it up on Facebook and get it out there.
Please.
Yep.
That's the end of my report.
Thank you. Denise, did you want to talk about what happened with or did you want me to do it?
No, I have that on my list. I have about 5 items. I'll do that
All
one
right,
last.
you go ahead then.
So the first thing is are coming in a week from Monday. So I did confirm that they will be into the building. So I just need to find a space for 4 of them next week. So when they come in on August 3rd. On the agenda this evening, you saw the Aramark contract extension. Just so the board knows, this is the final contracts for West Point, the Dodare contract. And so come like the end of June, Frank and I will be working on the Dodare contract. I'll be working on a new contract for the school lunch program. The capital project, just so you know, is really coming along. We work on Tuesday, we come in on Wednesday. And on the first floor, because I really don't want to go too far, it's dusty. They actually have tile in the bathroom on the floors. It's really amazing, like what these guys are doing. But with that, I've been working with BCA to make sure that we have all the pay apps from any contract that has submitted it for all the work up and through June 30th, because I need to get those on the books prior to closing the books for the audit. So that is all coming along. Finally, we received a notification that Andrew and I will be working on applying for the CARES Act money. The district allocated $155,424. Andrew hasn't opened up the portal yet because her main concern right now is to submit the reopening plan, which is due on July 31st. We can start submitting CARES Act money on or after August 15th, that's a basis. I've been reviewing some things, Andrew and I, some small discussions, but we'll be working on this. So I know Ann's going to chime in, because if anybody looked at the reports, and they're going to say, why is KJ getting $7 million and we're only getting $155,000? And it's just on the title, what we receive title monies. So it's disparities. It does cover the amount of the adjustment when I did the budgets. The it's like $153,000 we had to deduct, and this is covering that. So, as questions, and Anna, if anybody want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I do. Go ahead, Frank. You want me to go first, or do you want to go?
Well, I think you and I could probably tag team. So, Ann and I went back and forth on, who to reach out to about this, because, this is money from the federal government that goes out through the state So we reached out first to Senator Skoufis, who pointed us back in the direction of our congressional leaders. So I had a conference call with Senator Schumer's education liaison and his press secretary the other day, just to ask, where's the logic in giving that kind of disparity of funding between a school like Highland Falls and any other school? Carish Joel, almost 9 million. That they needed 60 times the amount of money that we're getting for their response to COVID. Again, I understand high needs students. That's what drives Title I. And they said that that's how it was written in the law, that for the greater part of this, the ESSER money, that was directly determined by Title I funding, and that the GEAR money, the governor's, I guess, monies that he could spend, his discretionary monies, he could determine how that was going to be distributed. He also distributed through Title I, and it basically lines up to, as Denise said, the pandemic, I forget what the term is, but allowance?
The pandemic
Adjustment.
Adjustment, can't get that name. It led me to push even harder for more federal money to support what we're doing here, as we are expecting to spend more money on PPE, more money to keep our children safe and our faculty and staff safe, more money to hire people to sanitize our buildings. We are going to need to do that, whether full-time or part-time. And we need the federal government to come through, because the state government apparently will not be able to. And those are some of the things we pushed on. And I also pushed them about impact aid and said, impact aid schools already are suffering. Now this hits them. So maybe they could include special money for impact aid schools as well. So hopefully Senator Schumer's office will be able to carry some weight on the floor of the Senate, and hopefully there'll be some relief for us and other schools that's not tied to Title I allocations.
But and you know, that's Frank did his homework and spoke to them, but that's not enough for me. It literally makes me sick to my stomach. If you look at the list and see the amount of money that these schools that are close to us in size are getting, even if they would have given us $500,000, and why the state would choose Title I allotments and calculations to give out CARES Act money that we need to open our schools. It clearly should have been a per capita calculation. How many students does each school have that they have to bring safely back to school or educate this year in these adverse conditions? And to use that, there is no way that some of these schools need these millions of dollars that they're getting. And Frank, what is the percentage? They're getting 80% more than us, or 80% times?
No, they're getting 60 times more than we are.
60 times more than we are, Curious Joel. That's just one example. There's others that would very much surprise you as well. We clearly are one of the lowest numbered cash school districts. And how they expect us to open our schools with that little bit of money, I don't know. And I said to Frank, I'll get the community on a writing campaign. I'll do whatever it takes, because this is a very serious situation. We need to do something. So I asked him, he said he reached out to Schumer's office. I wanted to talk to the board tonight and ask your opinions. Do you want to start a writing campaign? Do you want to start calling, emailing him and his, our constituents? Who should we email? Well, how do we want to handle this? Because I don't think we can sit back and wait. I think that Schumer's office and other offices need to hear that we're in a really bad place right now. And
What about communicating with the governor's council as one of the beginning efforts?
Frank?
We absolutely can do that.
But where will it get us?
We don't know where it's going to get us.
With the allocations that have already been put out, probably nowhere. But
They're not going to change the allocations that have given out. So that's why James Skoufis says go to the Fed the federal side because they're talking about putting other bills out.
Right, they're working on the fourth stimulus currently.
Yeah. I'm not saying not to.
Mhm.
I'm just saying that making that known, I think, is important, where it will get to the governor in some fashion. And I agree with you. And a writing campaign at this time is worth doing. Whether it will bear fruit, who knows? But I think we have to do it.
And we have to make our community aware of the disparity here and where we need help.
Yes.
So I don't know if I'm just on a bandwagon here. I lost that whole night's sleep waiting for Denise and Frank to call me back. When my email to them was, am I reading this right? I don't think I can be. And they both answered me, yes, you're reading it correctly. I was like, oh my goodness, like this is just, I can't even put words to it.
Are Title I numbers correct, Frank?
Our Title I numbers are correct based on the formula that is probably so far out of date. Remember that all these numbers are based on a 2010 census. So that doesn't get adjusted. And, we've worked very hard over the last 5 years to truly tighten up the other driver of that, which is our free and reduced lunch numbers. And we know that our free and reduced lunch numbers are up, yet it's not driving the monies to the district that I would hope that it would for the children, not for the district, but for the children. I mean, we use these Title I funds specifically for targeted intervention and to meet our children's needs. And same thing with our Title II and our Title IV monies. And to consistently ask for additional funds that don't come through, and then to ask for just some explanation as to Title I. I mean, we've been back and forth with the state on that one, but the reality is that it is a formula that is driven by poverty numbers and census numbers from 2010.
So Frank, what do you think, in your opinion, you and Denise, what's the best way to handle this? Obviously, should a letter be drafted that we send to the governor's commission, as well as Schumer's office? And should we go to Gillibrand's office? Where else should we go with this?
Well, we absolutely should go to all of our congressional leaders, Congressman Delgado, including, it doesn't hurt to write something to the office of the governor's council. We could write pretty much the same letter. What we're really doing is imploring our congressional leaders to provide money for local school districts for COVID relief, necessarily not Title I. You may have seen there are some cities that are suing the federal government over the distribution of the CARES funds because some of the CARES monies were funneled into the private schools around the country, much to the detriment of public school children.
So,
Concur for what Frank just stated.
okay, so who can help us with that letter? Because Frank just made it sound so perfect.
Marissa can help me
Okay.
start it based on what I just said. But
Okay.
I also will ask that we'll forward just the chart for Mary Jane so that she can see the numbers in their raw form.
Yeah.
And then you can circle back and we can put something out there. And maybe we can even put together a draft that individuals, or even talking points, we can, I don't mind inundating. We've been in the congressional offices where people are calling up in arms about something. We can put together talking points and have them call to Sean Patrick's office or Kirsten or Senator Schumer. We can do that.
Yeah, I think it's important. I know, and I did some homework, but it sounds like this fourth bill, it's either going to be enacted on fairly soon or it won't be until September because they're taking another break. Is that right?
It is an election year.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So we'll get these things out as soon as possible. And I know how busy you all are, but I think this is very, very important. So you can do your job without having to worry about this.
And is that something that we would want to consult Roxanne on?
I did, but can we take that in executive?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, for the short term, we'll draft something so that we can get people involved.
Yes. Okay.
I think we need to put our thinking caps on to see if there is an individual or individuals who would have an open door to the governor. So at least we can be heard promptly with some seriousness. There may be some person or persons in the community. I think we ought to come back to Frank on that.
Yeah, if we have a POC, I'll gladly
Yeah.
jump in.
I'll take any suggestions. We will all take any suggestions to help with this. I think it's got to be all hands on deck right now.
Just real quick, are we saying that there's another POC besides our elected state representatives that we can't go to? Are you saying our assemblyman or our senator cannot help us in this area?
No, they certainly can provide us with a conduit.
Well, what I need him to provide us with is a lightning rod. So it's an election year for everybody. So like, I don't get that part. That's the only part I don't get.
I don't see them as being I'm not saying that we should not push in that direction, but I don't see those two individuals as having a personal relationship that can call the governor and at least bring this to his attention to see if we can get a prompt result. Maybe there isn't, but I think there may be somebody.
Personally, I appreciate that response, but I don't buy that. I don't buy that. I don't buy that I can't call my state assemblyman or my state senator and have him be the torch bearer for my district's problem.
I didn't say that.
I don't know who better to help us with the situation than my state elected leaders.
I'm sure we're going to use that avenue, and the proof will be in the pudding.
From your lips to God's ears. Thank you.
Okay, Denise, did you have more?
Nope, that's it. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear. Denise, do you have more? She's good?
No,
Okay,
that's all. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
now I can. Okay, cool. It's so. Okay. Okay, so now we're on to Andrea, Frank?
Yes.
Okay.
So good evening, everyone. We have been busy getting ready to submit the reopening plan for the 2020-21 school year to State Ed. The deadline for submissions is July 31st. Been meeting regularly with the administrative team to take a look at our instructional options and continue to build out what instruction might look like given the three different scenarios. One is a hybrid model, one is a fully virtual model, and the other one is coming back everyone 100% brick and mortar. So that's where we are. I've been talking about these models. I think my first letter regarding those models was in June. And we are building them based on the guidelines in the document that was published by State Ed and the Board of Regents. So we'll have more information as we continue to do that. One of the things, it seems like everybody has something interesting to talk about tonight. It's my turn. We've been doing a lot looking at the size of our classrooms, and the principals walked all three schools this week on Tuesday, I believe. And they walked the buildings with Dr. Sheboy and with Tom Fargo to realistically identify the occupancy of each room, given the need to be socially, physically distanced by 6 feet, a 6-foot circle, essentially. And also, looking at the percentage of the space that's occupied by other things, teachers' materials, desks, boards, whatever else is in the classroom. I mean, science labs, equipment, all of that. So they did that. And I guess the occupancy within that case is about, 12 to 16 students per room is what I think we came up with, depending on the classroom dimensions and what type of classroom it is, how much of the space is occupied by games or toys or learning stations at the elementary level, and what that looks like. So we certainly have some challenges. One of them being making a decision about the space that we do have to accommodate all of the students at the Fort Montgomery Elementary School. We know that building has been impacted by an increase in enrollment over the past few years, and with the preschool program, the building's really bursting at its seams. And so Dr. Sheboy and Rachel and I have really been giving this a lot of consideration in terms of the preschool program. And with the demands on the space in that building and the logistics with scheduling students' arrivals and what will be happening in the school, we are concerned about running the preschool program in a way that is true to the mission of our program, with really engaging them in an active social learning experience and built on really bringing them in. And this is a learning preparation program, our preschool program. And with the space limitations, we don't feel at this time that we can open the program in a way that would be true to our mission. So I know we've kind of tossed this around, but we are recommending that we pause the program for the 2020-2021 school year. Rachel, would you like to add anything to that? I know that you have been a big part of this conversation.
Sure. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Theodore. Following our last meeting, Colonel Morrison invited us to visit the CDC on base to see how they've made the accommodations and followed the recommendations from the Department of Health and the CDC. And it was very interesting to see how they've done that. Their setting is very different from ours in that they are predominantly a daycare setting. So one of the big differences in that is that students arrive, or their children really arrive at different times during the day. So it's very manageable to be able to do the health checks and things of that nature throughout the day. And their classes of students are generally smaller and kind of fluctuate throughout the day, where we have a pretty large group of students. I think the classroom that we saw that was their pre-K age classroom had, I want to say, 10 students in it. And the director was saying that's pretty average. Sometimes they go up to about 14 or 15, but right now they have 10, and that's what's been working for them. We have currently, we could go up to 24 students in each classroom. They would all come at the same time. Busing is a big concern. Their buses are different. The pre-K buses are very different from our K2 buses that come into the district and come into the school building. So while it was very helpful to see how they've implemented protocols, some of which we will be charged with implementing in the fall, it was still very different, and the academic program that we use is different from the programming that they have. So it was helpful, and then also contributed a lot to how we made our decision. But it's been a very difficult decision and difficult conversations, but we do really feel that this is the safest way for our students to be on this year, pausing the program, and then of course starting it back up in September of 2021 for the 2021-2022 school year.
Yeah, and there was a lot of lessons to learn when we went to the CDC. It was a valuable opportunity for us to see just some of their procedures and their protocols for how people arrive and how people are managed through the building. The two, Dr. Tador spoke of the square footage and the room size. The two rooms that we currently have, based on square footage requirements for students to re-enter at 36 square feet per child per person, the occupancy of our rooms currently that we have for pre-K are 11 and 12. That notwithstanding, the instructional model that we have been working with for 5 years is involved and is people-centered and involves connections and involves close contact. And our goal is not to bring in children and have at age 3 and have them sit in rows and to, dismantle a program that we believe is valuable and supplement and supplant it with something that we don't believe is valuable. We feel it is appropriate to take a pause on our program for 1 year and see where we are next year. Hopefully the virus will have abated, or they'll have a vaccine or something else, but it is such a challenge. And this is anathematic to everything we believe about early intervention and childhood education. But it is something that we have to do.
And the one other comment that I need to make, as upset as I am about,
We lost you, Ann.
that we could do this. There's just no physical way that we could do this and meet the guidelines that were set forth this week in that 144 last Friday in that 144-page document. So there's not even a way to do it. Even if we fought it and said we had to do it, physically we can't do it with the space that we have.
If we had additional space available, not within our own buildings, but some other building, would that change the conclusion?
I'm going to defer to Andrea and Rachel, but I will say that we cannot do the instruction the way we think the instruction should be done, where children have to be 6 feet apart. And I'm going to defer to Andrea and Rachel, who are both much more expert on early intervention and early childhood education.
Yeah, I think that's a big piece of it. We built our program on the belief that children learn socially, children learn through play. Our pre-K program, the children are together. They're learning to collaborate. They're learning how to socialize. They're learning all of the skills that they need to become learners, so that as they transition to kindergarten and first grade and second grade, they're ready to go. And so they've had those experiences of being together and working together. Being 6 feet apart, I don't, that is the complete opposite of what we believe, of what we believe preschool is meant to be. I mean, Rachel, I think you're agreeing with me on that, right?
Yeah. So one of my strongest memories from last year, Dr. Suba, you'll remember this. I think it was the first or second day of school. You were coming into the school building and a mommy had dropped her daughter off for pre-K and mommy had to go to work. And her daughter was just destroyed. Her world had turned upside down. She was with mommy at home, and now she has to go into a strange place with strange people. And now this nice man comes in a nice suit and is comforting her the best way he can, not knowing this little girl. And at 3 years old, this little girl who still took naps until the very last day of pre-K and did not wake up from the 45-minute rest time that Mrs. Valley had in her classroom. She never did. She slept from nap time until dismissal every day. That's how young she was. But this little girl was coming with tears gushing out of her eyes and everything else that happens in your face when you start crying. All of that. And Dr. Sheboy still made every attempt to comfort her the best way he could. And I can't imagine having a child that young with a mask on, feeling that distraught, and us not being able to take that mask off, clean the child's face, which is something that every single one of the adults in our school building would do. It doesn't matter who their teacher is, we help the child. I could not imagine a world where we would not be able to take the mask off and just clean the little girl's face or the little boy's face, hug them, hold them close until they felt safe enough to calm down, take some breaths, and tell us how we could help them. And in the world that we're facing right now, I don't see that as a possibility. And I don't think that's fair to do to children, especially at that age. So
Thank you.
Yeah.
So that's what I did want to bring this up to the board this evening and discuss it, and also share our where we are right now in our thinking and our recommendation. Does anyone else have any?
I think we have, is there anyone on the board, I guess by a raise of hands, that we're letting them know that as much as it upsets us, we understand, and they can move forward in getting that letter out to let the parents know?
Absolutely.
Okay, and then Ned?
Yeah.
Okay, Anne is yes. Faith? Gabe?
Yep.
Jimmy?
Sure.
Okay, Faith, are you okay with the letter going out to let the parents know?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely necessary. And I've been a part
Yeah.
of the meetings where we've been talking about this. So I think parents need to know sooner than later.
Yeah, we feel it. They need to make alternative arrangements for their childcare. And
Yeah.
this is, we have families that have been planning on this for 3 years.
Yeah.
And this is not something any of us want to write, but Andrea and I have a very long letter to write for tomorrow. So
We do. Not an easy decision at all, and not one that any of us really wanted to make, but
Thank you for
heartbreaking.
sharing all the details with us. It really helped to
Yeah.
understand the decision.
I will say I do appreciate the time you guys put into getting this figured out. I know it wasn't easy, and I know you guys fought to keep it, how much we love it, but I think it is for the best this year at least.
So thank you all, and that's all I have for this evening.
Okay. Are there any other comments from anybody or questions? Okay, Janine?
All right, Frank?
we do have 2 walk-on resolutions. We will call them number 15 and number 16. They will become part of the actual agenda. 15 reads as follows, and then I'll read them both, and then Denise can do the consent. So 15 will read, resolution to authorize execution of addendum agreement to the agreement for the Assistant Superintendent of Business dated June 3rd, 2019 was her previous terms and conditions. Be resolved that the Board of Education hereby authorizes its president and superintendent of schools to execute an addendum agreement dated 23 July 2020 to the agreement for the Assistant Superintendent for Business dated 3 June 2019 as presented to the board at this meeting. And number 16 will read the same except for Dr. Theodore, and it says, be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby authorizes its president and superintendent of schools to execute an addendum agreement dated 23 July 2020 to the agreement for the Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum Instruction Technology dated 3 June 2019 as presented to the board at this meeting. Those are number 15 and 16 respectively.
Thank you.
Okay, ready?
Okay.
Use of the
Go ahead, Denise.
Okay, use of the cassette agenda. Use of the cassette agenda permits the Board of Education to make more effective use of its item of its time by adopting a single motion to cover those relatively routine matters which are included. Any member of the board who wishes to discuss individually a particular piece of business that an agenda may so indicate, and that item will be considered and voted on separately, thus preserving the right of all board members to be heard on any issue. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the following agenda as submitted by the Superintendent of Schools, number 2 to 16.
Motion.
Motion. Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. I just wanted the board to know that we will be recognizing Mrs. Hostler's retirement. We wish her the absolute best, and in the near future, we will recognize her at a board meeting. We also are very sad to receive the letter of resignation from Wilmina, but we understand for her own personal reasons that it's best for her to be able to move on to a place that will, I guess, am I allowed to say, Frank, work out better for her?
Yeah, it's closer to her home.
It's closer to her home, and she will be very sorely missed. But we do wish her the best in her future endeavors. And then, does anyone have any other questions?
But we do have a guest here, Emily Rogers.
Yeah, so I was going to make the approval and then turn it over to Emma for us to be able to congratulate and welcome her. So does anyone have any other questions? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
You are opposed to what one, Ned, or all of it?
That was a delayed aye.
Oh, okay. So motion carries, and I'd like to welcome and congratulate Emily for joining us, not only tonight, but in our district. It's a great place to work, and we are very lucky to have you. So welcome to you, and would you like to say anything to us?
Sure. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be a part of the Highland Falls Fort Montgomery community. I went for a run and then I visited Highland Falls town. So I snuck a peek at the school yesterday, and I was just really blown away by even the people in the town. Like, I was reading some signs because there's some history there, and I like reading signs. And someone who drove by and welcomed me into the town too. So I felt really welcomed right away. I stopped by a coffee shop, and the people at the coffee shop were super nice. They said that they were new to the town, and everybody was super nice there. And they felt really supported. And I felt the same way, not even being able to physically be a part of the meetings for the interviews and stuff like that. I think that I'm just really, really excited. Thank you for providing me with this opportunity to invest in students in this community, collaborate with colleagues to provide equity and access for students. I look forward to collaborating specifically with the 6th grade team. And I just want to thank you so much again. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, and welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Welcome. And thank you for taking the time to join us tonight as well.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Yes. So now we have discussion on the student calendar is the first one.
Yeah, so after spending the last 2.5 months starting to talk about our return to school in September, Andrea, myself, the principals looked at the calendar, and we all came to the consensus that we need to front load our professional development this year. And we'd propose that we put, I think we said all 4 days, Andrea, all 4 days. Go ahead.
I said, ultimately, I think we did decide that, yes.
All 4 of our professional development days at the beginning of the calendar, so that Monday, I don't have a physical calendar in front of me.
No, it's Tuesday.
So it would be Tuesday through Friday, correct, Andrea?
Yeah, I'm just, I believe that is correct. I need a calendar now too. There we go. So we would be meeting with faculty from September 1st through Friday, September 4th. Those 4 days would be professional development. And then we would welcome students back to school in one form or another on Tuesday, September 8th. There's a lot of logistics with training and everything that has to happen.
And then would the other conference days go away, like the November
Yeah.
one and the March one, or no?
Yes, they would.
They would. Okay,
Can you build in
okay.
any additional ones if it's found to be needed later?
So we are bound to 4 days currently. There was a proposal. I don't know that it will be allow us to use 6 days, but currently the maximum days that we can use for professional development out of the 180 required days is 4. If at some point we determined that we needed an additional day, we just would not get credit for that as part of the 180 days. This would still keep us with our 189 days.
Thanks, Frank.
Okay, so that is all well and good, and it meets the teacher's contract specifications as well. Am I right?
Yes, it certainly would, because they have a maximum of 184 days total of work. So it's just one of those, it'd be 4 of those 184 days. And what we would propose is to bring that revised calendar to the board at the business meeting in August, the August 6th business meeting.
Okay, you just read my mind. Okay. Okay. Okay, the next, so is everyone in agreement with that? I think the answer is yes. I'm
Mhm.
seeing from people's reactions. Yes?
Mhm.
Okay, okay, good. Okay. And then the next item for discussion is the board retreat. I know we've been meeting a lot more than usual, and obviously everybody's plates are chock full with everything going on, but it is a requirement that we meet as a board each year for a retreat. So Frank was kind enough to reach out to Julie for us. And there are quite a few new, what I call rules and regulations, what Frank calls policies or changes that we all need to be aware of. So Julie's putting together a presentation for us. We're looking to have the board retreat on Thursday, August 13th. I don't see any need to meet more than 2 hours. We can strictly this year leave it at what we need to know from our legal counsel, and then potentially maybe touch on again, like we usually do, at least have a discussion on how our committees are working. And if anybody wants to change the committee or a focal point or a liaison role. But for now, is everyone okay with the Thursday, August 13th, let's say from 6 to 8? Does that time sound about okay for you, Frank, to start with?
It sounds perfect.
Okay. So Aaron, are you available on August 13th from 6 to 8? Yes.
Yep, I'm good.
Okay. Faith?
Yeah, are we talking about doing this virtually?
Yes, because I think that, what is the next date that we have to change by, Frank?
We would, so currently we can still continue to meet virtually. I think it's through the 6th, through the 7th. So
Oh.
the 6th of August. We do expect that they're going to change that again. But this, remember, is not a board meeting. It is a board training. And there's probably looser rules. We can certainly confirm that with Julie. We might just well do it virtually because it's not a meeting, it's a training.
Okay. Is everyone okay with doing it virtually? Yes, yes.
Ordering dinner.
Okay.
Yes.
How
No dinner.
Ned, are you available on August 13th?
Yes. How do the other board members feel about having approximately a half hour for board members to raise any questions that they may have for change or infusion of anything else that they may feel is important as we go forward in the year ahead.
So are you saying things that should be discussed at a regular board meeting or?
Now, at a retreat
no.
meeting.
No, but would they be topics that we
In
should
the
be
past,
discussing?
we were never solely relegated to an instructional meeting from council, and it was a more free flowing exchange of ideas, which I think can be valuable.
Okay, so if people want to extend it, that's fine. My point was I was trying to keep it simple this year because of everything that's going on, and I can speak for myself. I'm on meetings, 5 times a week with all this stuff that's going on. I know Faith is heavily involved. I know Aaron's on meetings. So on a lot of the things that are going on, I was trying to make it a little easier this year. But if the board as a whole would like to extend the meeting for 3 hours, that's fine to discuss ideas and things like that.
About the potential for 2.5 hours.
Ned, are you talking about just us having a discussion about our own operating procedures, like unwritten rules, or just how we communicate with each other, or?
No, I was thinking more about matters that may be important to the district going forward, particularly in the context of the unknowns that we're now dealing with, or any other subject that a board member may have.
Okay.
I don't know if we have to put a time limit on it, but I'm definitely open to any other ideas or opinions any other board members have. So, I mean, if it means sitting around and hearing it, I'm open to it.
Yeah, but we have to have a start and stop time to the meeting, though.
Oh, okay.
For me, it's more about what needs to be done in public versus what gets done in training environment.
You know what I think Ned's talking about? You know how we have every year we talk about what are some of the things we'd like to see changed in the future? For example, that's where we kicked off something stupid, like a new sign for the for the Ford School. And then some of the things were bring in more programs, like for at the high school level, let's say, or whatever. It was stuff like that. It was long-term ideas. That's the word we used. Long-term changes and ideas. And I guess selfishly, again, I was just saying to myself, there isn't much that we can do this year. But I think Ned's more meaning, long-term. And again, I'd ask Andrea and Denise if you were available to join us for that retreat as well, because, all these discussions, even what Julie has to say is going to be important. So I guess I would say then, if everyone's okay with it, we'll do it 6 to 8:30. I know I've learned from classes and online things that I've taken, you really should have a start and a stop date for the retreat, because if not, it can go on forever. Go ahead, Gabe.
I actually am on vacation that week. I do not know my wireless situation. I will find out. I could probably still be on. So
would you like us to reschedule?
No.
Are you sure? Because that's not something I would want to do while I was on vacation.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I think it's either you come or you don't, because that's a lot of time to commit when you're on vacation.
And not for nothing, Gabe, you don't get a lot of vacation.
No, not with your kids.
You should be allowed to enjoy that.
Yeah, I'm with them Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, all day long. I can take a couple hours away from them on a Thursday.
Yeah, but if we have to, we can just bring you up to date too. It shouldn't be an issue.
If it works out where I can't make it. Don't change the date. I do think that I will be able to be on. I just got to check my wireless situation there. So it shouldn't be a problem.
Good, thanks.
Okay, so, Jimmy, are you available?
Sure. Whatever day you guys.
Okay. And who else? Okay.
Cecil and Gus, you'll have to just check with them.
6, 7. Did
I'm
Gus
fine.
join? Yeah, Gus. Are you available on August 13th for the board retreat?
Yes.
We
Okay,
have
well,
Gus. I didn't even know we had Gus.
I just had his
Yeah,
number
I'm here.
pop up. Yeah,
Oh, hello, Gus.
so we'll do 6 to, I still think we can finish all this in 2 hours. Do you know how long Julie's update's gonna be, Frank?
Julie can be as long or as brief as we want. We really just need to cover any legislation regarding anything about COVID. We need to talk about new Title IX guidelines, and I'm sure that between Julie and Andrea, I combined them, we'll probably get a pretty thorough understanding of Ed Law 2D. Those are really, we really want to hit COVID because there's a lot of things that the districts have to be aware of, and the board needs to be definitely aware of those things as well. So,
Okay, so Marissa, if you don't mind, if you could schedule it 6 to 8:30, but it's a hard stop at 8:30.
I'll send the invite as soon as we get off the phone.
Thank you.
yeah, I'll work with Julie on an hour and a half.
Okay, and then we'll save our committee discussion to another board meeting. So yeah, thank you. Hour and a half tops. Okay. Go ahead, Frank. Go ahead, Faith. What are you thinking?
Well, I was just thinking our committee meetings discussion, I don't think takes that long, does it?
No, but if Ned wants a half hour to discuss anything that's, I mean, again, if you guys want a 3-hour board retreat, but I know by the end last time we were done. We were spent. I mean, Julie gives us a lot of information to take in.
Mhm.
Go ahead, Gabe.
Could we, a suggestion, what Ned is talking about, kind of get those ideas out in advance so people can gather thoughts prior to, might limit the time that we take to do that.
Good idea. Good idea. So if
Yeah,
people can jot down any ideas they might want to bring forward and send them to the board and Frank, so
Put in-
everybody can listen, get an idea on, and then it'll be a much quicker discussion when somebody brings, if anyone's bringing anything to the table that needs further explanation, we can already know what that further explanation is.
Do you want me to create a Google Doc? You can all put your ideas in there? Is everybody comfortable?
That won't work for some of us, I don't think. So
Okay.
it's best for everybody to just email everybody what their ideas are.
Sure.
So please email to the board what your ideas are before August 3rd. Thanks, Gabe.
Mhm.
Okay. And Faith, we'll try to have the discussion on the committees. I don't think there's going to be that much change this year. Our hands are tied on so many things this year.
Agreed.
So many things. So I think you're right. I think it's going to be a fairly quick.
Yeah, that's why I think we can squeeze it in.
Okay. Okay. And then the last thing, Frank, is back to school.
Yeah, and Andrea covered a lot of that already. Obviously, we are preparing for all sorts of contingencies. The word of the day that we've been using is flexible. We need to be flexible. We need to be responsive to the conditions on the floor or on the ground. As the virus continues to unfold, we have to respond and react to it. Our goal has, since February and March, been first focused on safety and children and adult safety. It will continue to do so. So we do have, again, our town hall on Monday. We do have our plan that is due on Friday. We do have another board meeting next week just to brief the board before we send anything out final. But we're planning for a return to something in September.
Does anyone have any other questions? Okay. Then I will be it resolved that the Board of Education recesses now into executive session for the purpose of the of discussing the employment history of a particular individual and matters made exempt under federal law FERPA. The board will not be returning to open session to take action.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Thank you, everyone, for joining, and welcome again, Emily.
Congratulations,
safe.
Emily.
Yes, everyone be safe.
You too. I sent the invite. It should be in your calendars.
Thank you.